Well, hello there. How
Hey,
are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. How is the bionic shoulder?
I don't have any hardware in there, but he pretty much went in and rebuilt most of it. So I'm getting
Good,
there. I'm 2 weeks out, 2 weeks and a
good,
day out. So I'm getting there.
good. Well, you look great. I'm glad to see you. And just so everybody out there knows, again, we appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yes,
Good thing you're tuning in tonight because this episode uh, will probably save your life
yes,
once we get through it. And very important. But again, I love the network, All Access Network Television, giving us the platform to talk about serial killers and all the things that could happen. And again, July 11th, Connecticut Paracon is coming your way. It's going to be off the chain. And speaking of chains, we have a couple of the people that played Jason Voorhees and chained up coming out of the lake. So we have them coming to Connecticut Paracon, www.paracon2ends.org. Make sure you get your tickets. It's going to be at the Clarion Hotel. So if you want to make a weekend out of it, make sure you book your rooms. You could do that on the website also. So we're excited about that one.
I can't wait. I'm doing my
Yeah.
best to make it. Yeah.
Well, we got the All Access Network television symbol on the website. So I know you guys are always supporting us, and we always appreciate that. And from
We
there,
are. Definitely are.
but what do we, I think we talked earlier. I think Saturday, what we're
Right.
planning. Saturday we are planning. So anybody watching now, if you're watching for the first time and you want to catch up, we're going to be re-showing every episode from the beginning that on Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Mhm.
So make sure you tune in, rewatch all the episodes so you could catch up, so you know where you are. So it's like Game of Thrones, if
Yeah.
you miss an episode, you got to go back and binge watch and all that. And hopefully, we'll give you one of those shocking episodes like they did. But this one, I tell you, is going to be intense. Um,
It is.
Educational, of course. We're going to do the whole gamut, and I'll go over all that. But it's going to be a long one there, Gwen. So you know what time it is. Let's zoom in and uncover the criminal mind. All right, guys. So I want to get through this because it's very important. There's a lot of information. This is that episode, Victimology. It's basically not becoming a victim, what to look out for. I might repeat myself a little bit on some of the situations, meaning that they're very important. We're going to start off broad and kind of funnel it in all the different aspects to look at, especially when you're dealing with people out in the public, and how to keep yourself safe. So, basically, why the odds of encountering a serial killer, of course, are statistically incredibly low. The safety habits that protect against them are rooted in a fundamental situational awareness and a behavioral profiling. Serial predators often look for specific vulnerabilities, not just physical ones, but psychological and situational gaps. So, we're going to do a breakdown of proactive tactics to minimize vulnerability, focusing on situational awareness. We're going to do boundary setting and understanding predator psychology. So, in forensic psychology and victimology, the selection process used by serial offenders is rarely random. It often involves a predatory triage, quote unquote, where the offender looks for specific behavioral cues or environmental vulnerabilities. So, we're going to understand these patterns. It isn't blaming the victim. Remember that it's not your fault, but you want to have awareness. It's about identifying the mechanical and psychological markers that predators look for when choosing a target. Again, we're going to start off some general here and all that, and get into all the things to look out for, what to look out for in the potential criminal coming at you, what are the signs, of course, some defensive tactics, physical defensive tactics, and also mental. And then if you are taken, we're going to go over what to do if you are taken hostage or anything like that. So we're going to dive in. So The first part, the setup, the vulnerability of a subject. This is what we run into all the time. It's our situational awareness and environment. Serial predators are going to rely on an element of surprise or isolating their targets. So you want to eliminate distractions. Walking while looking down at a phone or wearing noise canceling headphones makes you a prime target. Again, headphones, looking down, that's what we all do. We're out there, we're just doing our thing. You become a prime target. So you have to have that awareness. Be aware what's going on around you, even when you have these things on. Don't keep your head down. You got to look up if you feel something. Attackers look for people who won't see or hear them coming. Stay alert, keep your head up, make brief contact with people around you. Because when you do that, just a quick look at somebody, you know you're aware of their presence. That way they might stop you by. They want to find somebody that is less aware or to be able to identify you so that that surprise is gone. There's a vulnerability loop. Predators often test boundaries with small intrusions. So they might ask for the time, request a small favor, or accidentally bumping into someone. Victims who respond with excessive politeness or an inability to say no may be flagged as easier to manipulate to get them into the situation where they can take them. So transitional space rule. All right, so that's a big one. Be hyper aware of transitional spaces. What these are the areas where you are moving from one environment to another, such as a parking lot, stairwells, gas stations, or walking to your car. Lock your car doors the absolute second you get inside. You never know who's behind you. But another huge thing that people forget is when you're going towards your car, don't pull your keys out right away, because what they do is if they see you pull your keys out, they know you're getting close to your car. Nowadays, with the, you could unlock your car from your fob, keep it in your pocket. Walk right up on your car and get in really quick. Pretend that's not your car and loop around, whatever you got to do if you don't feel safe. But again, lock the car as soon as you get in. Again, a lot of this stuff I'm telling you, don't go hyper crazy or anything like that. It's just awareness. So that's always a big part. Now, another thing is a lot of people, we have routine. If somebody, a serial killer, has picked you as a target and they're watching you taking notes and what you do, what your routine is. So many organized predators stalk or observe a victim to establish their patterns, taking the exact same jogging route at 6 a.m. every day, which a lot of us do. Alter your routes, times, and routines slightly, just slightly to avoid predictability. I know we're stuck with our routines, but just a slight variation. Maybe if you get up every morning at 6, maybe 10 of, or anything like that, just something slight could make a difference between saving your life and not getting into a situation. So research and behavioral analysis suggests that serial offenders are often highly attuned to nonverbal communication. So the studies such as those of Grayson and Stein have indicated that predators look for specific gait and posture markers. Pace and stride is a big one. Individuals who walk with an unnatural stride, either too long or too short, or who appear to lack coordination, can be perceived as more vulnerable. Eye contact. You want to avoid eye contact entirely, can signal submissiveness or fear. So if you're afraid to look somebody in the eyes, they like the fear. They want the fear. Some serial killers, fear turns them on. So while maintaining confident eye contact signals awareness, so you want to be confident if you're going to take the, you're out jogging and see somebody, look at them really briefly, but have confidence in it. This often discourages a predator looking for an easy mark. So don't make yourself that easy mark. So serial killers often operate with comfort zones where they can exploit specific demographics that society might look over. Again, the less dead phenomenon is offenders frequently target marginalized groups, such as those in the sex trade, runaways, or individuals struggling with addiction. They choose these targets because they believe that disappearance will go unnoticed or will not be prioritized by law enforcement. So that's a big one. So as if you're walking around these areas and be mistaken for being in that area, wrong place, wrong time. So routine activities theory, that suggests that a crime to occur, three elements must converge: a motivated offender, a suitable target, in the absence of a capable guardian. Victims are often chosen when they are isolated from the social guardians or safety networks. Always have a friend with you or multiple friends or anything like that. Um, that's a big thing, especially even going to the bathroom. Just because you're a female and going to a bathroom doesn't mean somebody could be in there waiting for you. That's why it's always good to have a buddy system going on. Now, recognizing manipulation tactics. So many serial killers do not use brute force initially. They use charm, manipulation, or a manufactured ruse to lower your guard and move you to a secondary location, which is the biggest no-no. You don't want to get to that point. There's the assistance ruse. Probably the best person to really show that assistance ruse was Ted Bundy, who used to pretend he put fake casts on, trying to get you to help him near his car and then just push you in. Or help me find my dog was a big thing for him. It's like feigning an injury, like he wore the fake cast, or asking help loading something into a vehicle. Is a classic tactic used to lure a target close to the vehicle. If a stranger needs help, offer to call someone for them or direct them to an authority figure, but do not accompany them to an isolated spot. Self-explanatory. A lot of this stuff, it's common sense. As as I'm saying this, I've done all this study. I pulled this script up to give you guys just my years of practice. It sounds self-explanatory, but sometimes, just like anything, we could be so good at something and be aware and all that, and we just forget basics, what we should do on a daily basis to keep ourselves safe without overboard and without having that anxiety panic. So there's also part of this is the interview or the opportunity angle. It's a be skeptical of strangers offering sudden lucrative opportunities like modeling gigs, private photography sessions, off-site job interviews. Hey, just want to take a few pictures. So that requires meeting in a private or unverified location, always vary credentials and assist on meeting in a public space. That's important. There's also this thing called force teaming and how they break down your guard. This is a manipulation technique where a predator implies that you and they are a team sharing a common problem. For example, we're both stuck out here in the rain. Let's share a ride. It is designed to reduce the social distance and to make you feel rude for declining. So they take your emotion, your empathy, and they use it against you, because basically most serial killers aren't really empathetic people, but they do have that mask of sanity to practice and do these things to get what they want. But boundary setting and social conditioning, society often conditions people to be polite, and just talking about this, helpful and accommodating. Predators explicitly exploit this politeness to cross boundaries. They, weaponizing the word no. A dangerous person will rarely respect a soft boundary. If a stranger approaches you and ignores a polite rejection, escalate your boundary immediately. No is a complete sentence. If they continue to close the distance, make a noise, draw public attention. Don't be afraid to do that. I'd rather be an asshole to somebody if I don't feel safe. Don't worry about it. Just be an asshole. Who cares? You're saving your life. They just go away. And hopefully they'll be captured before they do anything if they're that type of person. So trust your survival signals. All right. There's a book called The Gift of Fear, Gavin DeBecker. He emphasizes that intuition is a hardwired biological radar. If a person or a situation feels off, do not waste time rationalizing it or worrying about appearing rude. We just talked about this. Leave the situation immediately. And middle finger raised, I guess. I don't know. Might piss them off and chase you, but just get out of there as soon as you can. Create that room. Never go to a secondary location. If confronted or threatened, do everything in your power. Fight, scream, or escape at the initial point of contact. Statistically, The chances of survival drop drastically once an offender successfully moves a victim to a controlled or secondary location. Yeah, that's the big one. So that's where things just totally go into chaos. The digital and lifestyle security. Modern predators can use digital footprints to profile and select targets. We do this all the time. We go live, we take pictures when we're on vacation. Hey, we're downtown at this particular location having fun. So you want to delay your posting. Avoid posting your real-time location on social media. Post photos of events, dinners, or travel after you've already left the location. Rideshare, when you get in an Uber, anything like that, best practices when using these apps, always verify the license plate and ask the driver, who are you picking up? Don't give a name, make them have to give the right name. Before entering the vehicle, never get into a car that has child locks engaged. And also, I don't know how you would do this, but also a driver deviates significantly from the GPS route without explanation. I don't know, you might have to open the door and roll out or something like that. It's hard to know ahead of time if they're going to do that. There's the buddy layer. Always ensure someone knows where you are going, who you are meeting, and when you expect to return, especially when meeting someone new from a dating or marketplace app. Meet in highly populated public areas and arrange for your own transportation. Sometimes if you're really worried, of course, don't go out on the date. But if it is a first date, yes, the populated areas. But sometimes if you know you're going to a restaurant, have a couple of your friends pretending that they're eating there too, or something like that, or they're somebody there to keep an eye on you also, which is always a good thing if you feel comfortable with some friends doing that for you. But just to reiterate everything we just went over, there's a factor, the awareness factor. The predator's goal is for surprise. The victim action, there's distractions. Your phone, looking at your phone, headphones. So that's how this all works and how they look at it. Boundaries. Predator's goal is control. Difficulty saying no to a stranger. That's why they're going to get at you. Isolation, no witnesses. Of course, they don't want any witnesses. Walk alone in an unlit or unfamiliar areas. How they get you on that. Your body language, if you have low resistance, slumped shoulders, downward gaze, they might take advantage of that because you're really not paying attention. So if you understand these dynamics, it's a key component of behavioral profiling and personal safety, shifting the focus from the offender's impulses to the mechanical ways they interact with their environment. So that's like a brief summary of everything. I want to get more into really the things to look out for. We've talked about this on previous podcasts when we were doing serial killers, supernatural, and murderers. This is something I've talked about with Gwen, with Lee, and all that. And we maybe, if we have time at the end, she'll tell the story of what happened. But when a predator is about to attack, that's the next topic. So in behavioral profiling and situational awareness, understanding the pre-attack indicators of a predator or individual, whether a criminal opportunist or a violent offender, is crucial. Predators rarely attack without warning. Instead, they exhibit specific psychological shifts, behavioral tells, and tactical positioning right before they strike. So let's do a breakdown of what a predator looks like and does when they are transitioning from stalking to an active attack. It's the physiological changes, the fight or flight reflex. Just like a prey animal, they're animals. Just nothing to it that evil. They just become animals. The human predator experiences a massive spike in adrenaline right before an attack. Because they're trying to conceal their intent, these physical reactions often leak out. The target glance or the hyper focus. Their eyes will lock onto you, or alternatively, they will repeatedly look at your target areas like your neck, waist, or pockets. So they're looking at where they're going to go at you, or what they could get at you, or how they could take you down. And they scan surroundings and check for witnesses or security cameras. They're like constantly looking around to see who's around. I don't want to make this analogy, but it's like when you tell an ethnic or off-color joke, you look around to make sure nobody's around. It's just something instinctually people do for some reason. But if somebody's about to attack, they're looking around. They don't want any witnesses, of course. But then there's the big one. This is the one they call the serial killer stare or the 1,000-yard stare. Their expression may be completely blanked out. The pupils often dilate and the face loses color as blood rushes to the major muscle groups. It's that serial killer stare. You just look at pictures of Bundy and them all in court, and you could tell that there's nothing there. It's just totally disassociated and have no empathy. There's the adrenaline leakage. You may notice rapid, shallow breathing in somebody, heavy sweating despite the temperature, yawning. Yawning is a common nervous reaction to oxygenated blood. So if they're breathing like heavy and they're trying to hide it, sometimes that yawning will create, they'll start yawning a lot more. Shaking of their hands, trying to hide them in their pockets. Sometimes somebody has their hands in their pockets and that nervous look around you, it's time to exit stage left. But target masking, they may wipe their face or stroke their beard or adjust their clothing repeatedly. This is a grooming mechanism used to channel nervous energy. Of course, we do this a lot when we're nervous, especially when somebody's asking us certain questions. It's another tell that we talked about when we're doing, these interviews of suspects. So it's the wiping of the face a lot, the beard and all. And I'm guilty. When I get nervous, I tend to rub my beard. But I also, when I'm really, it's weird because if I'm nervous, I do that. But if I'm really interested in what somebody's saying, I do it too. I don't know how to separate that, but that's for another episode, I guess. Uh, the next thing that we really look at is the pre-attack posturing, their physical tells, like we're playing poker here. Um, Before a physical strike or abduction attempt, a predator must position their body for maximum leverage and power. Look for these subtle shifts in stance. They might blade the body. Instead of facing you squarely, they will shift one foot back and angle their torso. We often call this the boxer's stance or blading. I just call it a ready stance for defensive tactics. I tend to stand like this a lot, especially with people I don't know. I just do it naturally, just with my background. But it's always good to have that because you never know with people, especially you're walking and, I give them all the credit. There's people out there, there's, they might be homeless or something, or trying to get money. You got to be careful. You never know who's coming at you. You want to be empathetic towards people, but sometimes you have to have that knowledge just to step back and just have that stance. It's just, unfortunately, I wish we could trust everybody, but you can't. Um, there's another part where they're going to clinch. Clinching and loading is what we call it. You'll see them clench their jaws like they're about to do something, puff their chest out like they're about to move, especially in a fighting situation. Those are tells when somebody's about to hit you. So they'll repeatedly ball their hands into fists. You might notice their arms stiffen or drop slightly to their sides, loading up for a grab or a punch. So you have to be aware of those things. The hands disappearing, that's the scariest one. Police always worry about that one. That's how people get killed or shot. Um, if their hands suddenly go into their pockets, behind their back, or under a jacket, they are likely, I think they're more than likely concealing a weapon or preparing a restraint device. So they're coming to grab you if they have to use a weapon, knife, gun, whatever. That's where they're hiding it. That's where they're going to bring it out. You have to be aware of that, especially all the other things I told you. That's what leads up to that end point there. Um, they also have the tactical movements when they're closing the distance on you. An attacker cannot take you without closing the gap. They use specific movement patterns to get within arm's reach without alarming you. Um, in defensive tactics and all that, we'll talk a little bit more when we go into defending ourselves. There's the 6 feet and all that. I know we talked about COVID, 6 feet, whatever. It's that distance. They come into your space. You want to maintain that distance. But once within 6 feet, it puts you in a position to be able to protect yourself too if you're aware of what's going on. The movements, of course, the predatory stalk, deceleration, they may rapidly close the distance from behind, or conversely significantly slow down their walking pace to match yours, waiting for a blind spot or a moment when you look down on your phone. Corridor blocking is a big one. They will deliberately alter their walking path to cut off your route, stepping into your direct line of movement to force you to stop or turn around. Then there's this L-shaped approach that someone will do. It's often used by multiple attackers or a single predator using cover. They will approach from an angle or use corners, parked cars, or pillars to ambush you from a peripheral vision. So they start planning and all that. It's just awareness, all awareness, and all. And if when you have that awareness, you have to have the right intent and all that. You have to know and trust your gut to get out of there. I can't express that enough. There's verbal pretexts or the interview. Many predators utilize a verbal strategy known as the victim interview. They use a seemingly harmless interaction to test your boundaries, gauge your reaction time, and get close enough to strike. This is done a lot in the spy network and all that. If you're CIA, stuff like that, the Russians used to do. It's the artificial request, asking for the time, directions, a cigarette lit, or help with a broken down vehicle. The goal is to get you to lower your guard, look away, to check your watch, your phone, and allow them into your personal space, that's 6 feet we talked about. So there's overcompensating politeness, which happens if someone is being aggressively helpful, offering unsolicited assistance, or using excessive charm. It is often a tactic to bypass your natural survival instincts, ignoring boundaries. If you say, no, I can't help you, or step back, and they continue to advance or speak, they have shifted from a normal interaction to testing your compliance. So that's a big no-no. So the golden rule in our situational awareness is your intuition tells you an interaction feels wrong, treat it as a threat. Don't screw around and don't F around. Trust the physiological warning signs. Your gut instinct is often processing these micro behaviors before your conscious mind does. If you're wrong, you could apologize, about somebody, but don't be wrong. This is a situation you can't be wrong. At least if you read somebody wrong, you could apologize. It's better to apologize than be dead. So now we're going to move into the defensive tactics, physical and mental. So when we looking at safety through the lens of behavioral profiling, counter ambush strategy, and law enforcement defensive tactics, the mechanics of an abduction attempt to boil down to one specific variable: control. An offender targeting a specific individual relies heavily on the element of surprise, speed, and the second location, moving the target away from the initial point of contact to place where the offender has total environmental control. To defeat this, tactics are divided into immediate counter ambush mechanics, environmental disruption, and behavioral prevention. This is the big one. You don't have to be powerful to be able to protect yourself. And we're going to get into that. It doesn't take much. I could show a 90-year-old woman how to protect herself against somebody much bigger than her. Those are the things that you have to learn. I've taught defensive tactics. I've taught to people, hey, my own family. I've taught to keep them safe because I just never want to get that phone call. So anybody looking for this, I'm more than happy to discuss that. Hopefully, if you have questions, of course, at the end, all caps, we could go over that. And again, I'll say hi to everybody at the end of the episode. But let's dive into this one. Physical counter ambush tactics. So when an attempt is made to physically grab or move you, the primary objective is not to win the fight, but to disrupt the momentum long enough to break the hold and escape. We have what we call the dead weight and anchor technique. Okay. The mechanic of it, dropping your center of gravity instantly. If grabbed from behind or wrapped around the waist, drop your hips sharply toward the ground, bending your knees. You want to make yourself as heavy as possible, that dead weight. Of course, why it works, it shifts your weight entirely, making it drastically harder for an attacker to lift you or force you into a vehicle. So this tactic, while dropping, grab onto any nearby physical anchor, a railing, a shopping cart, a car door, or even a post. Make it physically exhausting for them to move you. Exhaust them. If you can't, anybody could get exhausted really quick, especially when the adrenaline's flowing, anything like that. Uh, God forbid if they're going to take you, I hate to say it, make them work for it, exhaust them and all. And that way it gives you a better opportunity if you can't escape. If you tire them enough, there's opportunity to escape later, which we'll go over. So the soft target striking, if you are held tightly, standard punches often lack the leverage to do damage. Focus exclusively on high vulnerability targets, trigger automatic physical regressions or involuntary reflexes, of course, in the attacker. Again, you could be 90 years old, you stick your finger in somebody's eye, they'll probably let you go. And that way, if they can't see you, you could get away. So gouging or driving your fingers directly into the eye sockets forces the head back and causes involuntary release. You're so stressed at that point and so much adrenaline's going. If they're attacking you, no holds barred. Take their eyes out, blind them. They're the instigator. They came at you and you're protecting yourself. So there's also the throat, a structural strike to the trachea. Crushing or striking with a palm heel disrupts breathing instantly. Just so you guys know, just one tap to the throat like that, it'll disrupt the breathing. If they can't breathe, they can't take you. Same thing if they can't see, can't breathe. Now, a hit to the throat, 8 pounds of pressure per square inch will kill somebody. So it is a deadly strike. It is considered, in law enforcement, we have a use of force matrix that we have to use and take in consideration of that. If they're using deadly force against us, and we have to use deadly force back if we're in a position where we can't get to our weapon or anything like that, a punch to the throat is considered a use of deadly force because they're trying deadly force on us. So that works with the use of force matrix. But if some of your life's in danger, you're still doing that. Of course, there's the groin and knees. Guys out there, I know if you've ever been hit there, it hurts and it'll put you down. I don't care how big or strong you are. And also the knees. If you can't walk, you can't get somebody anywhere. So there's also the inside of the ankle. If you have to do that, just put your heel back into the ankle. Again, if they can't walk, it's painful. And if they're bent over from getting a kick to the groin, they'll drop their posture, hopefully releasing you and giving you a window to break the grip and get out of there. So now, one big thing when they come up behind you is the rear bear hug or the rear choke. If an attacker wraps their arms around your neck or chest from behind, your immediate priority is to protect your airway. So when somebody grabs you from behind, you want to pull down like this as hard as you can. Move your knees down too. You're going to do the weight thing also that we talked about earlier, trying to create breathing room until you could get that. A lot of times they'll grab you on here if you have enough with the other hand where your hands are, depending. If you have anything like that, you have the leverage principle. So that's where you want to grab one of their fingers, pinky, if you could get to it, and of course peel back on it with maximum force. I know it's going to sound disgusting when you crunch it, but it's better to hear the disgusting crunch than to be dead or taken somewhere and be violated. So isolating and breaking a single digit will compromise the strength of the entire hand and arm lock. Right. So that way we'd be able to escape in that situation. I do encourage people to take like martial arts class, anything like that. It's a good discipline. It helps with stress. It's a good workout on top of it, but it helps you be more vigilant and confident in who you are. And if the situation does arise, you do have the ability to know how to pull away from what they give you or how to be defensive and know these situations. So I encourage that a lot. And I know a lot of people, their schedules, times, things like that, just even watch YouTube videos, practice in the mirror, whatever you got to do. You could go your whole life and never have the situation. But again, there is the statistic in anybody's lifetimes, your whole lifetime, you'll come into direct or indirect contact with over 32 killers or serial killers. So that's a big statistic. So that's situations like we're talking about that you could be in. So hopefully what we're hearing now and what I'm talking about will help you escape the situation. So there's an environmental disruption. Offenders who attempt abductions require anonymity and speed, stripping them both forces them to calculate the risk of getting caught right then and there, weaponizing the vehicle. So if they jump into your car, they're carjacking you. If forced into the vehicle, the attacker gets into your passenger seat. Your goal is to prevent the vehicle from reaching a secluded destination. Of course, we don't want to get to that next destination. If you are driving, deliberately crash into a stationary object, a light pole, a parked car at a low moderate speed. The reason being, it deploys the airbag. It'll attract a lot of public attention, disables the vehicle, and creates chaos. So you're the one planning. If you're driving and all that, you have, you know, they surprised you, and now it's time for you to surprise them back. A lot of people don't think you're going to crash because they think people don't want to be injured. But at a low enough speed, that airbag comes out. That's life and death right there. So you have to take that risk. Um, if you scream for context is the other big one. Do not just scream, please. Not little light things and all that. Because people think it's just you guys arguing about something. Scream specific phrases that eliminate the domestic dispute. Like I said, bystander bias. Because let's look at it this way. There's a lot of videos out there you'll see where they have the people walking and they put their hands behind them and they do the signal that, hey, I'm not in a comfortable situation. Help me. I've watched these videos and a lot of times they'll show them, and out of 5 people, maybe only 1 will respond to try and help that person. So that's what you're up against. Unfortunately, what I'm talking about now is for your own personal safety. I want to think that somebody's going to come and help you, but you can't assume that. And you can't assume everybody's out to rescue you. Sometimes you just got to rescue yourself and have these situational things down and have the awareness of what's going on around you. Even if you shout, I don't know this person, they are trying to kidnap me, call 911. Of course, you want to do this, especially if they haven't taken your voice from you. Then you want to start leaving a forensic trail. If you are being overpowered and cannot escape immediately, drop personal items intentionally, a shoe, a piece of jewelry, a phone, or attempt to leave DNA evidence, scratching the attacker to get skin under your fingernails, splitting. In that situation and all that, the scratching under the nails, God forbid, if you lose your life, at least there's DNA. At least in death, you could help somebody else. It's almost to the point, I hate to compare it, where a lot of us donate in case something happens to us. We may donate our heart, our lungs, or whatever. In this situation, if you know you can't get out of it, yeah, scratch somebody. And if they do find your body or anything like that, that DNA could lead to capture of this killer, and somebody else may not lose their life. Unfortunately, it's that empathy for others. Unfortunately, if you're in that situation. So now, behavioral tactics, denying the target profile. From a behavioral profiling standpoint, predator offenders scan for specific cues. When choosing a target, they look for vulnerability, distraction, and a lack of situational awareness, like we talked from before. Like I said, I'd probably repeat myself a little bit, which I think is just very important, especially in the digital age. We're just not aware of our surroundings. A lot worse as time goes on and more things come out to take our attention away. But you want to erase the surprise element, walk with your head up, scanning the baseline of your environment. If you notice somebody watching or following you, make direct, brief eye contact. Again, it shows that you're aware of them. It signals to the predator or offender that they have lost the advantage of surprise, and that way they can identify them. They don't want to be identified. That's why they want to try and surprise. Enlarge the tactical boundary. Cut corners wide. You want to cut the corner wide when walking around the building, edges, or dark alleys to prevent a close quarters ambush. Keep your keys concealed in your hand. before you reach your vehicle, like I talked about before. When it's in your hand, you could also use it as a weapon and all that, with the key to the face or anything. So have that in your hand. Again, most people, if they're observing or following you, once you pull those keys out, they know you're close to the car and they're going to close the gap. So a lot of times, even if you see your car, loop around, come back around and all that. And, that's something that you do those wide turns. Don't be obvious at all. So if you're feeling somebody's following you, and trust the survival signal. Intuition is a highly sophisticated data processing system. If a situation, a person, or environment feels off, treat it as an active threat. Do not worry about being polite. Screw it. It's your life. You can apologize later if you said something rude to somebody, but change your route, pull into a well-lit public space, and immediately seek safety. So in those situations. Now, we've talked about general topic of moving into everything we're talking about, how the killer might, or somebody kidnapping might look before they attack, how to protect yourself. And then it comes to the situation where you could be taken hostage. All right. Now, being taken hostage by a serial killer is an extraordinary high stress crisis. I don't need to tell you that, the scenario there, because serial killers operate on deeply ingrained psychological compulsions rather than material motives like ransom or robbery. Standard hostage survival tactics must be heavily adaptive. As a behaviorist, I would analyze it. My primary objective is to disrupt their predatory fantasy, humanize yourself, and buy time to exploit a mistake. Here's a strategic psychological breakdown of how to handle this critical situation. So this is one of the most important parts, besides protecting yourself, is if you get into this situation, these are the things that hopefully create enough time for you to get them to make a mistake, or for somebody to be able to track you down, or somebody to hear you, and get help or come in and help. Now, number one, de-escalating and depersonalizing the initial capture. The abduction or initial capture phase is the most volatile. That's the most physical one. Of course, the captor's adrenaline is high, and they are acutely aware of the risk of being caught. They don't care about you. They care about being able to keep doing this. So of course, they don't want to be caught. So comply outwardly. All right. Do not fight back blindly if they have complete physical dominance or a weapon drawn. Okay. As this can trigger an immediate lethal response. So you may not get the time if you're fighting back like that. They have something on you. Just, hands back. Just, unfortunately, you have to do that. I know a lot of us, our egos get big and say, yeah, we could handle this, no problem. But guess what? You can't. You'll be at the pearly gates if you create that situation. This isn't the movies. This isn't TV. People don't hesitate sometimes when their adrenaline's high like that. A lot of times it'll accidentally go off if they're nervous, or they're just sick of you and they're just going to, screaming and yelling. They're just going to put one in you, unfortunately. So as a trigger or immediate lethal response, obey commands calmly to lower their immediate arousal and anxiety. I know it's easier said than done to stay calm, but you have to. A lot of times with them, if you're going crazy, of course, they could kill you right there and then. Or if you're showing that fear, uh, you're making the serial killer, sometimes that turns them on. You're just making it worse. It's such a fine line in that situation. So you want to manage your fear response. Controlled breathing is your most vital tool here. Rapid hyperventilation signals absolute submission or panic, both of which can feed a sadist's power fantasy or cause them to panic and kill you, to silence you, like we talked about. So, as a crisis manager, negotiator, or anything like that, um, we always want to humanize, especially for us if we have a subject that has somebody hostage. We always want to try and get their name. When you have somebody's name, or you give a name, where you force a name on somebody. It's almost like you have power over them. You've humanized yourself. You got to grasp that little edge of power when to humanize and all that. People want to be noticed. They want to hear their name, but also it has that power. All right. So many serial offenders view their victims not as people, but as objects or props, required to act out a specific mental script, their fantasy in their head. So establish an identity, subtly introduce your humanity, mention a name, a child, a spouse, or a mundane life detail. Do not be overly dramatic, speak calmly. Um, in a lot of these situations, like that, when you're building that identity, sometimes the name night right off the bat, sometimes, hey, this, you're taking this as my favorite place, I did this when I was younger. Move the story backwards and get more specific as you're starting to gain momentum. That's another way to look at it. Now, avoid total submissiveness or extreme defiance. Extreme terror can satisfy a sadistic urge, while overtly aggression or insults can trigger a violent rage. Aim for cooperative, composed demeanor. You want to move from being an object in their mind to a person. So we're humanizing here. We're just building on it. Now engage their ego. That's probably the biggest one. A lot of serial killers are killers. They become that way because they have no control. So they feel they need to control somebody. Many of these serial offenders possess what we like to call immense narcissism. That self, we know a lot of narcissists out there, but if they speak to you, listen. Let them feel intelligent, powerful, and in control. The more they talk, the more comfortable they become, and comfortable captors make mistakes. Coax the ego, make them feel good about themselves. I know it sucks. You never want to do that, of course, with a narcissist. We'd rather just be quiet and not give them ammunition. But of course, yeah, be careful in what you say. Pump them up, make them feel good about themselves, because that gives you time and it gives you ability to plan to get out. Observe, profile, and catalog. Your mind must become a camera and a notebook. Every detail you gather is a tool for your escape and eventually investigation. Identify physical markers, listen for unique sounds, train tracks, specific birds, traffic patterns, industrial noises that reveal your location. Catalog smells, ambient temperature, and the layout of a room. Study the captor. Note their physical description, speech patterns, tics, dominant hand, and behavioral tells. Watch for changes in their mood, what triggers frustration, and what calms them down. Map their routine, because if they were mapping your routine, when you get captured, you're reversing everything on these guys. You're becoming, the predator, not the prey, if you keep these things in mind in the situation. Map their routine. Serial killers are often bound by strict habits or external schedules, jobs, family obligations. Track the passage of time. When do they leave? When do they sleep? Now, another thing is if somebody's captured for a long period of time, they have what's called the Stockholm syndrome, where they start, bonding with their captor. We don't want to do this, but we could also do this in a way, if we're aware of it, to bring their guard down, to make them, like, we do stuff for somebody. Sometimes if we're captured, do stuff for somebody, and hopefully that breaks down that barrier too. So it's like a reverse Stockholm there, where you're more aware and you're not becoming humanizing them, and all that. But it's a prolonged captivity. The human brain could subconsciously bond with the captor as a psychological survival mechanism. During these situations, you want to maintain mental autonomy. Remind yourself constantly that any small kindness they show you, offering food, letting you use a bathroom, is a manipulation, not genuinely empathy. Keep your mind sharp. Do mental exercises. Recall books. Replay movies in your head. Solve math problems. A sharp, active mind is less likely to succumb to psychological paralysis or learned helplessness in the situation. So you want to engineer and execute an escape plan. You cannot wait for a change of heart. Serial offenders rarely let their victims go voluntarily. Of course, you must actively look for a window of opportunity, but you must be patient enough to ensure it is a high probability attempt. Yeah, you don't want to risk the odds on it. You want to get out because you don't want to create even more problems for yourself. But look for the vulnerability window. The best times to escape are when the captor is, of course, asleep, under the influence, distracted by an external event, or when you are being transported in a public area. Commit to the action 100%. No going back. If you decide to fight or run, you cannot hesitate. If you must use physical force, target absolute vulnerabilities, the eyes, the throat, what we talked about, the groin. Use any available object as a weapon. Leave forensic evidence if you are moved or left alone. Try to hide small items of your personal property, a ring, button, or strand of hair in hidden corners of the room or vehicle to leave a trail for investigators, of course. God forbid you don't make it out alive. Again, we could help somebody not become a victim, just what we sacrifice, unfortunately. So the golden rule, survival is the only metric of success. Every minute you keep yourself alive by adapting your behavior to a psychology is a minute closer to their routine breaking down, law enforcement closing in, hopefully, or an opportunity for flight presenting itself. So a lot of the victimology things that we talked about, a lot of that was developed and what to look out for by Dr. Ann Burgess. She was one of the founding members of that BSU unit that interviewed all the serial killers. So she was a woman at Boston College. One of her backgrounds is helping victims after rape or altercations or anything like that where they were beat up. So a lot of these questions she put together with the interviews with the serial killers and all that. Case in point, serial killers even, they have such big egos that there was Danny Rawling, if you guys ever heard of him. He was the Gainesville Ripper. The guy that wrote the movie Scream was a student at the time at the Florida University there when Rawling was killing these women, and inspired him to use that as the Scream. But Rawling, actually, there was quotes from him on how to avoid somebody like him. But it was this just a weird set of rules of 10 rules and all that, talking about buying a gun and then just using it, that guy was totally crazy. If you could read up on him, of course, read up on Dr. Ann Burgess. I know I mentioned some books earlier to look into. Again, one of my favorites about a lot of this stuff, the Mindhunter and any of those tactics. Again, if you guys have any questions, make sure they're in all caps. And also, very important, again, if you missed some of the episode, you'll watch it back. Again, we're going to play a lot of the episodes back on Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's just important information. I know the last few episodes, all these episodes, I'm glad you guys are enjoying. I'm kind of in teaching mode and all that. I'm just trying to help you and build that serial killer ideology, how they think, why they think the way they do, how to keep yourself safe. We're going to start moving into case studies pretty soon. I have a few cool things coming up and to engage you guys, and hopefully we could do that. But for now, I know we're getting a little late here. I want to bring Gwen on because I want her to tell the story about what happened to her in Savannah. So let's get Gwen back up here.
Hey.
There she is.
So we'll make it quick. Yeah. We're going to make it short. We had already been doing serial killers, supernatural murderers, which was actually we did it about a little over a year. It was fun. But we had been talking about this and that, and I listen, I learn, I listen. I'm one of these nerds. Okay. So myself and Litriana, who everybody knows, and Matt, her husband, and another friend of ours, we go to Savannah for a little thing. So one day we're down at I think they call it the Riverwalk, and it's these stores, and you just look, and it's like almost endless looking. You can't see the end if you're sitting. So we go in this little outside table, we're eating lunch, enjoying the day, listening to music. One of those been easy for somebody to pick somebody up days. Absolutely. So we're sitting there and I'm looking, and before I even saw anything, I felt something way down and I couldn't see. I could see people walking, but I couldn't see. And I felt something. It didn't feel right. Well, it felt like something was getting closer. And I know that's weird. Maybe hunters might know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, I'm thinking something's not right. And then I'm thinking back on what we had talked about. So, long story short, I see this guy, this real tall guy, and he had this girl with him, and she had this empty look on her face, like nothing was there, is all I can explain. And he had eyeballed me like all the way down. I could feel him coming. And then when I saw him, I knew he was looking at me. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just kind of like, So he stops at the menu on the wall. They have those on the outside, and then him and her go inside. Well, I had to go to the restroom. Now, mind you, I'm already feeling creeped out, and I'm like, something's wrong. I go in, and the whole time I walk in that door, it's like he saw me walk in, and he followed, like his eyes followed me all the way. Now, Litriana walked in with me, and she didn't know this at the time. We get in the bathroom, and I said, you need to know this. Something's not right. Well, we come out, and she saw it too. But the more I think back about it, if I had been on my own, or maybe if I'd even gone to the bathroom on my own, there's no telling what would have happened. Mm-hmm. Now, the people that I was with, they would have missed me. But that is when I realized that if you pay attention and you have your senses open, you know something is wrong. Like I said, I could not even see this person, but I felt it. I felt that person watching me. And we even went to a store after that, and he walked in and he circled, and he was staring at me the entire time. And like I said, the lady that was with him, or whatever she was, it was like an empty shell. Mm-hmm. And he was, I don't want to say evil, but he was not good. He was very much not good. And I know that's very simple, but I didn't want to run over time. But
no, everything you talked about is what I talked about tonight.
Exactly.
You really, the woman that was with him, I don't know what the relationship was, but sometimes they have people as pawns.
Yes.
Somebody that's in on it, but doesn't have the capacity to keep them from stopping. So if you see a couple together, you're less likely, you're aware, but some people aren't. Because, that's just a couple, I'm not going to worry about it. But you got to keep an eye on that too. There's pawns that they use, a guy walking the dog, some of these predators have animals just to get what they want.
Even a child.
Exactly. So there's people that they got the carriage, there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
There've been killers that have used, put dolls in it just to get somebody to look, take their eyes off of them. And the next thing you know, you're a victim. You got to be careful. I know we want to pet the dog. I know we want to see the cute baby and all that, but you got to trust your instincts. Again, when you felt that something was wrong, you stayed away from it. You made awareness. You made that look towards them to say, hey, I see you.
I did.
That's the important part. That's why they're not going to come at you. Yeah, they're going to look at you, but when they have that long stare and they keep staring and they hold that eye contact, something just isn't right. They're in their mind, they're saying, how could I get this person? As they stare.
And when he went to that, right, we had walked way down to a whole different store. Mm-hmm. And by the way, all they ordered was water. Mm-hmm. So they were watching. And when we walked down to that other store, we had one of us, Matt, had went to get the car because it was really long ways. And anyway, he was just going to go get the car and come back and get us. Mm-hmm. We sat in that store, and it was a coffee spot on one half of it, and it was an odd little store, but they walked around in that circle. They didn't buy anything. They didn't pick anything up. They didn't order anything. They were just watching me the whole time. And even when we went outside, they came out the other door and they were watching me. And I could feel them as they walked down that he kept turning back and watching. And I believe that if I'd have been left alone for, I don't know, he would have tried to do something. But we were so aware. And I was like, man, I keep thinking back, what if we had not been discussing all that time? What if I'd have went to the bathroom by myself? Or what if?
Yeah. One other thing, I appreciate you telling the story again, because it's important, because when we say if we say this stuff enough, then it gets ingrained and it gives us that vigilance. But you weren't so vigilant, where it was annoying, where you had anxiety all the time and couldn't go anywhere, and I'm just not going to leave my house. We can't have that. You got to live your life, but just be aware. One of the big things I know I'm talking about, it's more of the adult thing. We have to be careful of our kids. I know we talked about raising our kids and all this other stuff. Parents, you got to be aware, because your kids aren't going to be aware.
Exactly.
Right? So we have to be aware for them. Stacia and I talked about this the other day. There was a case where, some parents are like, yeah, the young kid says, I got to go to the bathroom. Yeah, just go into the bathroom and all that. We're right here. No, the kid went into the bathroom. A guy came in, and the guy came out. The kid didn't. The guy went in and raped the poor boy and snapped his neck. It doesn't take long. Yeah. You got to be aware your kids around you. Keep them in front of you. Keep them in front of you. That way, wherever they go, you have them peripheral, left, right. They're in front of you. I know it's tough sometimes, and there's no excuse for that. There is family bathrooms now, so if you have that concern of being a guy taking your daughter in or anything like that, those are the things I hope a lot of places have those family bathrooms a little more often, so it's not, so awkward or anything like that. Right. The awkwardness is why they do that, but you're putting that into a really precarious situation where we lose our kids. So
I'd never make it through it if I did. Thank goodness I did not.
Exactly.
But even growing up, I grew up with 2 older brothers, and they taught me things like how to fight, and if I need to. I mean, I'm pretty. If you meet me, I'm a little spitfire, but you also know that I'm not one of these loud, obnoxious folks. I'm not going to do that. But if you ever see me being loud, there's a reason. So pay attention. I even fly and stuff, and I don't worry about it as much now. But I'm aware. I'm very aware of everything.
Yeah. So. It is, even with your friends, you're out at a club or something like that. Mm-hmm. Your friends know you. If you're doing something out of the ordinary, they know something's wrong and they come to your aid. So it's the other things to look out for, especially like, I didn't really talk about it, but you're at a bar, keep your drink with you. Keep your hand over it too. Wherever you go, keep your hand over your drink. That's another way they're going to get you, because they know if you start feeling a little, hey, I got to go home. I'm feeling a little woozy, some of that tough stuff kicks in, they're going to follow you out and you're a victim and you could possibly be dead. So got to be aware of that. I know a lot of people that had been drugged that way and all that. Some of them had their friend help them, especially their friend knew, hey, she's not acting right or he's not acting right. Let me take them, because it only, you want to keep them safe. We have to keep our friends safe. Again, going to the bathroom, if you're not feeling well, keep somebody with you, especially at a club or something like that where people are drinking.
Oh, exactly. Mm-hmm. So we had, let's say, a lot of people like Carol, Blaine said hello.
I love everybody for tuning in.
Nancy, she was talking about her dad taught her. I'll go ahead and pop that up, which I think is awesome. Yep. Let's see, Blaine. We were talking. I was telling you. Okay. Yep. Christy Marie, Carol Garcia. She was stalked. I am so sorry for that, Carol. I'm trying to see if we had any questions. Let's see, Nathaniel. Just popping up some comments. They were where you were talking. Don't have a lot of questions yet, but I wish you guys would, even if you save them up to the end, pop them in. If you think of one, I'll pull them up at the end.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving all the information needed. I don't know.
You really are. I'm
sitting back there taking all the questions away from them and all. But no, I like to hear how people overcame. You know, people have been in these situations like yours, Gwen, and all that. And I know there'll be some episodes. We have other people on that we could talk about certain things. Just because I talked about victimology today, it doesn't mean I can't down the road have another episode and have people on that were actual victims and what they did to escape. We did do an episode of victims on serial killers, supernatural, and murderers. I remember Letrian opened up on what happened to her, and that was very powerful. And I think that helped a lot of people. And I know it probably healed her a little bit too. Sometimes
that's the first time she'd ever openly talked about it like that.
Exactly.
I knew, but it was all I could do not to lose. I'm thinking about it now and I'm about to cry. But it was terrible. But
it is very emotional for her. And you always feel like a person, like knowing what I know, I feel vulnerable myself if I can't help somebody and all that. And it's the worst thing, knowing that you know how to help somebody but you can't be there in time to help. It's the worst feeling in the world. we do it as parents. We worry about our kids. We worry about them in these situations. I told my kids this stuff, and oh yeah, Dad, we're gonna hear you lecture again and all that. But I just hope it sinks in and they're aware. Um, just with anybody, any loved ones, you know, if you have a hard time talking about this subject with your kids or anything,
Mm-hmm.
again, have them watch the show.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything that somebody young can't hear. Um, sometimes we have to subject them to the evils of the world. We can't just wait and hope everything's going to turn out okay. We
And
have
I
to
will say
subject them
this:
to those things.
sometimes it takes not hearing it from your parents, but somebody else, because we always think, oh, that's my mom, that's my dad. My daughters, I have 2 daughters. They're grown now, but I preach to them. I was a single mom, and I would preach, here's pepper spray, here's this, here's whatever you keep in your car, you do something. And you know what, if somebody ever tries to carjack you or something, you make noise, you run them over, you do something. I don't care, do something. Protect yourself, fight dirty. That's the way it's supposed to happen. You're supposed to.
Exactly, and you're exactly right. I don't even believe in dirty. I just grungy, whatever you got to do.
Put it this way: if it's somebody and me, I'm gonna make it home.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna do my best to make it home. It's So.
Yeah. And and again, a lot of people, what I'm talking about, it goes both ways. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, anything. You could get put into that situation, and you could be taken. And nobody's macho enough to really get out of it and all that. They think, those are the predators. Love people like that. Believe you me, they love those overconfident people because you know what you're doing as you're puffing your chest and being overconfident. You just opened yourself up to me and all that to take you out.
Yeah.
So, remember that. Be confident in public, but don't be a jackass. That's the whole thing. There's a fine line with being confident in who you are and how you come into a room with confidence and all that. It's a good trait to have. It shows, you have control over who you are. You're less likely to be a victim, and more people may be drawn to you. Especially we talked about the awareness. Like for me, and I know we've talked about this. When I walk into a restaurant, I don't want to make sure I could see the door, especially any door, like even the door where the staff comes out of.
Yes.
Because people could come through the back door and come that way. I want to be able to see peripherally. And when I do come in, I could see every person in there. I know where every doorway or exit is, who's in there, who could help, who's vulnerable, who might be an attacker of some sort if things go wrong. I just do it like in less than 5 minutes. And I just sit there. I can't eat until I know. I can't eat until I know. So.
I watch people come in and out. If I'm like with you, it was me and you and Stacia and Lee and Matt.
Yeah.
I still watched, even though I know I had you guys. So it's a habit. And, we were both first responders. We saw some bad things happen. And like I said, you know what? Don't go in being arrogant. Yeah, we have. But you know what? Go in and say, look, if something happens, I'm going to make noise. I'm going to do something. Something's, I'm going to do my best to make it home.
Yeah. I want everybody to make it home. Everybody that watched tonight, again, I appreciate that you guys watched and
thank you.
Just even if you have friends that didn't watch the episode, have them watch. If you're concerned for your loved ones and all that, just have them watch. I'm giving you information that's tried and true. Many professionals, psychologists, law enforcement all came up with these ideas. I just did the studying. I put together this show for today. I work on these things for over a week.
Yes.
To make sure that I bring you guys proper content and to help you. I want to bring you the best that I can with my background and offer you those things of my knowledge, my world experience to hopefully help save your life or save somebody else's life, or to give our kids a fighting chance as they grow up, to be more confident and aware of their surroundings. So those are all big things.
They very much are. And don't forget Saturday at 10 a.m. That's going to be episode 1 of Profiled, and I'm going to play them until we get finished that day.
Yeah.
And don't forget they are pre-recorded. I know if Tom has a chance, he'll go in and see if anybody something. But if you have a question, send it to me. Send it to Tom. We may not get it right that second, but remember they're pre-recorded, so we're just going to go and play them all back. And if you missed one, maybe you know what, you may see something that you didn't see the first time.
Yeah.
Or listen.
Yeah, instant message me. Some people don't want to put their comments out here on live.
Right.
If you have something private, personal, and all that, part of our Wardruna group and all that is to help people overcome some traumas or to avoid these things. Just reach out, instant message me, Thomas Patrick on Facebook, of course, Instagram, TikTok, Archangel the Paranormal. But I'm here to give you what I know. Do I know everything? Of course not. Again, it's based off of what I've learned in training. As a shaman, what I sense, and also my own traumas growing up, and how that put all three together to be aware, to be able to profile, or to help people, or to see these things. So it's important, and hopefully I've done that for you guys. And again, I'm offering, that advice if you need it.
Absolutely. And if you can't, if you reach out to me, I won't say a word. I'll say, Tom, you need to contact this person, or anything like that. Whatever you feel comfortable with, just reach out. Don't ever just not say anything. Never. Always say something.
Exactly. Yeah. See something, say something.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly. Exactly. Well, I hate to cut it short.
I don't blame you. You got another show coming on, and all the shows on the network are fantastic. Make sure you guys watch all the different shows, and
don't forget the Connecticut Paracon. It's coming
Connecticut Paracon. www.paracon2ns for Connecticut.org. And again, Saturday you'll see all the episodes. And again, I'll acknowledge everybody after the show. And again, I appreciate everybody watching. And we'll see you next week. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. We'll make it a surprise. And go from there. We'll figure it out. So, but good night, everybody. Down the rabbit hole again.
There we go.